Hey, what's up guys, and welcome to today's video. So my name's Peter, the Fit Moose, and today I'm going to be talking to you about how you can read nutrition labels. So those little labels on the backs of your food items. So I think there can be a bit of confusion when you look at the food labels and you don't know what you're trying to compare, okay? So I'm here to break it down, make it super simple, and just show you exactly what you need to look for when comparing two similar food items to make sure that you make the correct food choices, just the healthier food choice, okay? Now the reason this is important is because you can actually make a significant change to how healthy your overall diet is without having to actually completely change the types of food that you're eating, okay? So we're gonna break it down, keep it super simple, and just show you exactly what you need to know to make the healthiest food choices. So for today's example, we're going to be comparing these two different types of cereal. On my right, we have Kellogg's Frosties, and on my left, we have just cornflakes. Okay, so at first glance, you might see that they look pretty similar. You might not be able to tell the difference between the two, but we are here to show you how you can tell which is the healthier option between the two of them, okay? So the first thing I will say is don't make your food decisions based on what you see on the front of the packets, okay? Now, food companies have gotten very good at deceiving their customers by putting things on the fronts of packets that make their products seem healthier than they actually are, okay? So for example, you might see a product that says no added sugar, and you might see that and think, wow, that's great. This must have no sugar, or must have, you know, a low amount of sugar in it, and then you'll just buy the product based on that. But actually, a lot of the products that say no added sugar do still contain a lot of sugar, okay? It just means they haven't added any extra sugar to it. So a good example of this would be with fruit juices. Now, fruit naturally contains a lot of sugar. That's why it tastes sweet, you know, and tastes good. But you might see a fruit juice that says no added sugar and assume that it is low in sugar, okay? Fruit juice is going to be high in sugar regardless of whether they've added sugar or not. It just means it's a little bit less high in sugar compared to the ones that have extra added sugar, okay? Not necessarily that it's low in sugar. So looking at these two food items, the first tip, like I said, don't believe on what you see on the front of the packets. You need to turn the packets over and actually look at the nutrition labels. So that's what we're going to do for these two products here. So we're going to start off looking at the cornflakes. The first thing that you want to do is, when looking at the food label, is actually compare the serving sizes. So the reason you want to do this is because two similar products might state very different serving sizes, okay? So you might see that one product says only 20 calories per serving, whereas another product has like 50 calories per serving. However, what you might not be seeing is that the one that's 20 calories per serving, for example, if you have a chocolate bar and it says 20 calories per serving, their serving size might be one small little square. Whereas the one that says 50 calories might deem a serving size to be something like, you know, 4 or 5 squares. In which case the chocolate that has 50 calories per serving would actually be lower in calories because the serving size is much larger when compared to the other chocolate bar, okay? So look at your serving sizes first and foremost. Make sure that you're comparing similar serving sizes, which brings me on to point number 2. You'll see serving size on the nutrition label, and you'll also see per 100 grams. And that is so that you can make direct comparisons between two similar products, okay? So if they have different serving sizes, you can always compare how much of, you know, how many calories and how much sugar and stuff is in each product per 100 grams. So it helps you to make a direct comparison. So that's what we're going to be looking at with these two cereals here. So per 100 grams, the cornflakes has 378 calories. Now, per 100 grams, the Frosties has 377 calories. So basically the same number of calories in the two items. So first things, they're looking very similar. After you've looked at the serving size and the calories, you then want to kind of go through some of the macronutrients. So that's your proteins, your carbohydrates, and your fats. So first thing we're going to look at is protein. The cornflakes have 6.8 grams of protein, whereas the Frosties have 5 grams of protein, so you have more protein in the cornflakes. Going down, the next thing you want to look at is your carbohydrates. So we have 84.9 grams of carbohydrates in the cornflakes, and we have, where are we? We have 90 grams of carbohydrates in the Frosties. So about a 5-gram difference in carbohydrates. Nothing too drastic, but the next step is very crucial. You need to see how many of those carbohydrates are made up of sugars, okay? So obviously you want less sugar in your diets generally. So you'll find that just below where it says carbohydrates, it will say of which sugars. So the cornflakes that we have here contain 10 grams of sugar per 100 grams, whereas the Frosties that we have here have 30 grams of sugar, okay? So that's where you can start to see a big difference between the two products. Even though their calories are basically the same, their overall carbohydrates are very similar, the amount of sugar is a lot more in the Frosties when compared to the cornflakes, okay? You have 20 grams more sugar in the Frosties compared to the cornflakes per 100 grams. So that's something that you definitely want to keep an eye out for. The next thing you want to look at is how much fat is in the product. So you have 2 grams of fat in the cornflakes, and you only have 0.5 grams of fat in the Frosties. So less fat in the Frosties. And then you also want to look at the amount of saturated fats. You obviously want to keep your saturated fats lower. So saturated fats from the cornflakes, we have 0.5 grams of saturated fats. And in the Frosties, we have 0.2 grams of saturated fats. Okay, so quite similar, not too much difference there. After you've looked at the calories, the proteins, the carbohydrates, the sugars, and the fats, a couple extra things that you can look out for is fiber. So fiber is actually it's healthy for you. It helps with your digestion, and it also will help you to feel more full, okay? So foods with higher fiber can make you feel more full so that you don't end up eating so soon after that meal. So we have 3.3 grams of fiber in the cornflakes, and we have 2 grams of fiber in the Frosties, okay? So more fiber in the cornflakes. And finally, one other thing that you want to look out for is the amount of sodium in your products, okay? So sodium, if you don't know, is just salt. And you don't want to have too much salt in your diet, okay? You know, you do need salt in your diet, but you don't want too much of it, okay? A lot of food, when you buy it out, contains a very high sodium content. So generally speaking, when you're buying food for your house, you want to try and keep the sodium content lower because you're getting a lot of sodium from outside foods already. So actually one type of product to look out for is sauces. Sauces, you know, like tomato ketchup or chili sauce or anything like that, they tend to contain a lot of sodium and a lot of sugar to make the sauce taste good. So you want to look out for how much sugar and how much sodium are in your sauces, okay? So looking at these two cereals here, we have 592 milligrams of sodium in the cornflakes, and we have 503 milligrams of sodium in the Frosties. Okay, so less sodium in the Frosties. Okay, so that is it. You will see a lot of other things on your nutrition labels. I don't want you to confuse yourself by looking at all of those. Otherwise, you're going to be, you know, in the supermarket forever, looking at every single tiny little thing that's in every product. So keep it simple. The things that we've covered today are the things that are going to make the biggest difference to your diet and to your food choices. So just to have a quick recap, you want to, first of all, compare your serving sizes. Make sure you've got similar serving sizes. Next, you want to compare per 100 grams to make sure you're getting a direct comparison for the two products. You want to look at your calories first and foremost, because that's what's going to make the biggest difference to your diet. Next, look at your macronutrients, your proteins, your carbohydrates especially, and your fats, your saturated fats, and your sodium, okay? So these are what are gonna make the biggest differences when deciding between two different food items. And if you do this, you know, for one item out of your shopping list, you'll, you know, you could make a difference to your diet. However, if you did this for every single item that you buy, regularly, you know, on your shopping list, that can make a drastic change to your overall diet and to your overall health, you know. These are foods that you're eating on a daily basis, and you know, if you can make those changes in every single item, make the healthier choice, then you can make a significant change to your overall health. Definitely something that I would recommend that you try out for yourself. It might seem, you know, it might take you a little bit longer to start with when you're shopping, but once you've done it a couple times, you'll get very used to just finding the exact information that you need, and it will become a very quick process to do, and it's definitely worth making that effort initially because it's going to help you out with your overall diet. So one last thing before I let you guys go is so you can see overall between these two products, I would generally recommend the cornflakes because, and that's down to the amount of sugar in the Frosties. There's 20 grams more sugar in the Frosties compared to the cornflakes. However, you might find that, for example, you have a condition where you need to have very low sodium, for example, but you might find that actually sugar is not a problem for you in your diet. So in this case, actually these cornflakes have a higher amount of sodium compared to these Frosties. So if you need to keep your sodium down, you might actually choose to go for the Frosties if you're not worried about your sugar content, okay? So you do need to keep it specific to your diet. And it's about what you're looking for, but generally speaking, if you're, you know, you don't have any specific health conditions, go for the cornflakes, go for the lower sugar and generally the lower saturated fats, okay? So that's all for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. I hope you learned something. If you did, please give me a like, makes a difference to me, to my channel, and share the video with anyone else that you think can benefit from reading a food label when they go shopping, and start next time you go shopping, guys, and it will make a big difference to your overall health of your diet. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching once again, and I'll see you in the next video.